Inshallah. Today we're going to cover probably 3 chapters because it's easy. Not going to take us much time. This is something that we already know, but starting next week, inshallah, it's going to probably get a little more difficult. And at that point, the brothers probably going to want to show up, inshallah. Allah knows best. Al-Mubtada wal-Khabar. Al-Mubtada wal-Khabar. That's our subject here, right? Last week we did al-Fa'il wal-Maf'ul bihi. This week we're doing al-Mubtada wal-Khabar. Al-Amthila. التفاحة حلوة. التفاحة حلوة. The apple, التفاحة, is the apple. حلوة is sweet. التفاحة حلوة.
Why don't they have the shut up there? This is in the text.
Shut on what?
At two.
Oh, just because there's no need. They don't have anything. They don't have a fatah or anything because you don't need it. They know the word. This book, like I said, these books are written for Arabs. They know these words. You know? So for them, they don't need it. At-tufaha. At-tufaha. But you wouldn't need the shadda because you would know that a sad is a sun letter. A ta is a sun letter. That it blends in. You don't need it. At-tufahatu hulwatun. The apple is sweet. Read number 2.
You gotta shut over though. As-suratu.
I know.
As-suratu jamila.
As-suratu jamilatun. As-surah with a sad versus with a sin. As-surah with a sin is the Quran. As-surah with a sad is a picture. The picture is beautiful. Jamila because of the surah being feminine. Hulwatun because tufaha is feminine, right? Al-jaryu mufid. Al-jaryu mufid. Al-jaryu is from jara, meaning to run. So here al-jaryu is running. Here's Muharram. Al-jaryu. Assalamu alaikum.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
كيف حالك أخي?
Alhamdulillah, I couldn't make it on time.
No problem. Al-jaryu is running. Running. The act of running. It's a masdar, right? It's a masdar. A verbal noun. Al-jaryu mufid is beneficial. Mufid from fa wa da dal mufid, meaning beneficial. Al-jaryu mufid, it's beneficial. Read number 4 for us, Muharram.
Number 4, okay. Al-qitaru sari'un.
Naam. Al-qitar, the train. The train. Sari' is fast. Sari' is fast. Al-qitaru sari'. The train is fast. Read number 5, Abdullah.
An-Nahw. Okay. An-Nahwatu wajibatu. Now, wajibatu. Wajibatu.
Tun. It's a tanween there. It's just written like this, and it's
But I thought when you stop, you just
not
said
clear.
two.
No, you just say wajibah. You'd stop on the ta marbuta as a ha. Wajibah.
Because when they
Right.
have a kesratain or a fatatain, it just said ta or ti.
No.
You just stop
Okay.
at the end.
If you have, for instance, Muhammadun, you stop and say Muhammad. You don't say anything. You drop the whole tanween. If you have surah, like a surah from the Quran, you say surah. You don't say suratun. Your ta marbuta turns into a ha, right? Just a ha. You say surah. Now, the same thing for Assalamu alaikum Yasin. Now, same thing if it was Majroor, Muhammadin, and Surah 10. Same thing, Muhammad, Surah. Now, if it's Mansoob, Muhammadan. Right? Muhammad. Then, if I was to stop here, I say Muhammadah. And I would drop one of my fathas. Right? But here, if I stop, I drop all of my tanween. But if I stop when it's mansoob with the fathas, then I would still say one of them because I have my alif here. Right? I have my alif here. But for instance, the word surah, it doesn't need that alif. Because the ta marbuta and the hamza can carry the fathatain and it doesn't need the alif. All your other letters are going to need that alif. But the hamza and the ta marbuta, they don't need the tanween. I mean, they don't need that alif to carry the tanween. It's as if this dal is not able to hold the fathatain by itself, so it needs the alif to help it out. So when I stop, I'm going to still say one of my fathas. But on the ta marbuta or the hamza, then I don't need the alif. So if I were to stop, I'd still say surah. Or if you wanted, you could say surah ta, but you don't need to. You just say surah because you can stop it. So in this case here, wajibah. No, here, wajibatun. You said wajibatu. We don't need it.
Okay. Well, I'm saying
it's dropped because it's marfu anyway. It's marfu anyway, so we don't use it, right?
I had them mixed up. I thought, because, when there was a dhammatain or a kesratain or a fathatain, I thought it was, if you stopped, you said one of them.
No, only if it's mansoob and you got your alif there. Okay. An-Nadhafatu wajibatun. An-Nadhafa is cleanliness. Cleanliness is wajibah, is obligatory from wajib. But because of the ta marbuta, wajib takes the ta marbuta as well, right? It has to match it, right? The information is going to match it. So therefore, we say a salat wajibah. We don't say a salat is wajib. We say it's wajibah, right? Even though in English we say salat's wajib. No, salat is wajibah because salat has a ta marbuta at the end. And the last one, Yasin, can you read number 6?
Al-Jar'u Muftidu.
This one, say it again.
Al-Ardu Mustadira.
نعم الأرض مستديرة أو الأرض مستديرة. الأرض Al-ard is the earth. Mustadira comes from daw, waw, ra, which means basically to go around, right? Yudawwar. If a person yudawwar means he's dizzy, right? Yudawwar. Mustadira, right? Means the earth is round, right? Al-Burtuqal mustadira. The orange is round, right? Al-Qurra mustadira. The ball is round, like this. So, now, let's look at these sentences. And let's figure out what happened here. Like I said, this is all introductory stuff. Everybody, I'm sure, probably has at least some sense of it. But after this, introductory stuff is going to become more difficult. Every week, you're going to get something new. It's going to start changing up the normals or the norms that we know. So we have, if we look at this, if we just cover up the second word. Let me see. Hold on. I don't have to cover it up. Let me just do that. Right? At-tufaha, as-sura, al-jaryu, al-qitaru, al-nadafatu, al-ardu. Okay, I see things here. I see that I have a noun, and that noun is marfu'. And I see that it's the beginning of my sentence. But it doesn't make sense if I just say at-tufaha, as-sura, apple, the picture, running, the train, cleanliness, the earth. I don't give it any idea, no thought, no complete idea there. So we need something else. We're beginning our sentence here with a noun. And then we're going to need some information about that noun in order to make it whole. So at-tufaha hulwa. Hulwa is information about the apple. The apple is sweet. Jamila is information about the surah. The surah is, the picture is pretty. Al-jaryu, running, is mufid. Mufid is information about al-jaryu. So this noun, because bada'a means to begin, right? So nabtadi'u jumlatina bi ism wa ismu hadha al-ism mubtada. So we're beginning our sentence with a noun. If you listen to it, nabtadi'u, or nabtadi'u, no, not nabtadi'u, that's with a ayn. Nabtada'u, without the ayn. Nabtadi'u means we innovated. Nabtada'u, we're beginning our sentence. Nabtada'u. We're beginning. Nabtada. So the word bada'a. So we know from, for instance, Ibn Kathir has a book called Al-Bidayah wa Nihaya. Al-Bidayah meaning the beginning. Wa Nihaya. Middle school is called Al-Ibtida'iyya. Elementary school, the beginning, 1st through 4th, 5th grade. Al-Ibtida'iyya, meaning the elementary school, the beginning levels. So the first word is called the mubtada. The mubtada. And the news about that noun is called the khabar. If a sentence starts with a noun, then the first word, the first noun is called the mubtada, and the information about that noun is called the khabar. Now in Arabic, for someone if you don't know those terms and don't have that very much Arabic, you got to memorize these terms totally fresh. But mubtada itself means beginning, so that's easy. The beginning, the one that starts everything off, al-mubtada, the beginner. And khabar means news or information, as we found out from Usul al-Sunnah of Imam Ahmed. Al-khabar, like the word for hadith as well. It's information, it's news. If you watch Channel 4 at 5 p.m., it's called al-akhbar. Right? The news. Right? So, khabar means news or information. News is information about what's going on. So, if you have a sentence like this, just 2 words, right? Both of them nouns, one of them being information over the other one, then the first word is called the mubtada, and the second word is called the khabar, meaning the news about that first noun. Is that clear?
Yes.
Abdullah? Yasin, clear, huh?
Crystal.
Here's the rule. Is it clear, Yasin? Alhamdulillah. The rule here, al-mubtada. The mubtada is an ism. It's a noun. Marfu'. It's marfu' fi awwal al-jumla, in the beginning of a sentence. And al-khabar is a noun. Marfu' yukawwinu ma'al mubtada jumlatan mufida. The khabar is a noun which is marfu', that when it comes with when it's combined with the mubtada, it becomes a complete sentence. So if you have a noun and you have information about that noun, at-tufaha hulwatun. Now you have a noun, you began your sentence with the apple, and it's marfu', at-tufahatu, and then you have information about it, hulwatun. It makes information about the apple. That there is called a jumla mufida, a complete sentence, a beneficial sentence, a sentence which gives the listener a complete idea. Now, if I say at-tufaha surah or tufaha asura, it makes no sense. So it has to be information about the mubtada, not just another noun. Right? We don't just want to throw out apple, newspaper, you're running, no, that's not it. But if it's information about the noun that it started off the sentence, then that's considered khabar about it, and it's marfu', and together they become a complete sentence.
Owl is beginning. Owl.
Huh?
Owl.
Oh?
The owl. Or owl.
Yes.
That means beginning too. I know it's first.
The awwal. In the first of the sentence, the beginning of the sentence. Yeah, same thing. Then you have jumlatul fi'liya. Al-jumlatu al-fi'liya. Here we have. Now we're going to learn the 2 types of sentences, even though we already know them. But we're going to go through the chapter. I'll read the first one, then Abdullah, you can read the second one, and so on. Lama'a al-barq. Lama'a al-barq. Lama'a is to flash or to shine like that. And you'll see the difference in a minute, right? To flash, to shine. When something flashes, there's some type of bright, something shone bright for a second, right? Al-barq. Al-barq is lightning, as we find in Surah Al-Baqarah in the beginning, right? Lama'a, and we probably know the word lama'a from the book of Ibn Qudama al-Maqdisi called Lum'atul Ittiqad. Lum'atul ittiqad. The lum'a, the bright or clearness of the i'tiqad, right? And it becomes clear and because it's bright and there's nothing hidden on it, right? So lum'a are the brilliant, right? Lum'at al-ittiqad of Ibn Qudama. Ibn Taymiyyah has an explanation. It's translated in English. It's a famous book that people study. Lama'a al-barq. So you could say the lightning flashed or the lightning shined, because when it flashes, it shines, and so on and so forth, right? So when someone goes and waxes your car, they do this verb here, lama'a. They do lama'a for your car. They make it shine. They make it flashy. They make it where when the light hits it, it shines off like flash, right? So, lama'a al-barq. Here, this is a verb. It's a past tense verb. Lama'a. The lightning flashed. Read the second one, Abdullah.
Second letter.
Oh, wow.
Awa, esib.
Awa dhi'bu. Dhi'bu. Awa dhi'bu. Awa is, that's how you would look it up, Ain, Waw, Ya. It's also the root for Muawiyah. Muawiyah. Right? Yeah, Muawiyah. Muawiyah. Okay? It means to howl. Muawiyah means the howling wolf. Right? I wish I'd have named him something like the whispering mouse or something, you know? Because when he lives up to his name, man, he lives up to it, right? So, Awa adhib. Adhib is a wolf. So the wolf howled. Again, this is a past tense. Awa adhibu. Right? And this is barqu. Right? We have a fi'l. Every time we have a fi'l, we have a fa'il. Every time we have a verb, we have a doer of the verb. Lama al-barqu. Awa al-dhi'bu. And if we remember, our fi'l, our fa'il is always marfu'. Our fa'il is always going to be marfu'. Awa al-dhi'bu. Muharram, read the next one for us.
يسقط الثلج.
Yasqutu thalju. Yasqut is to fall. Thalj is snow. So the snow is falling. Here we have a present tense. These two were past tense verbs. Lama'a awa. Yasqutu athalju. The snow is falling. This is a present tense verb, right? Yasqutu athalju. What's falling? The thalj is falling. That's the doer of the verb here. Even though falling isn't necessarily something that you do, right? Something that happens to you, but you're the doer of that. You're the one falling, right? Read the next one for us, number 4, Ya Yasin. Yashtaddu al-bardu. Yashtaddu, this one also is present tense. Right? Yashtaddu from shidda. Too many humps there. From shidda, you look it up. Yashtaddu, here it means to become more or violent or more severe. Al-bard, as we learned in dua for al-istiftah and salat, it could be sleet or hail, right? But here it just means the cold. Al-bard is cold. So yashtaddu al-bard, meaning the cold became more severe. The cold became, it became colder basically, but the cold became severe. It became severely cold. Yashtaddu al-bardu. So yashtaddu is a present tense verb, and al-bard is the doer. It's marfu', as all of these have been marfu' so far. Abdullah,
Aktif. Okay.
number 5.
Aktifu. That's a second. Aktif. Aktif.
No.
Al-Wada.
Iqtif, because our third letter has a kasra. Iqtif al-warda. Here, these two are commands. Right? As you'll see. Iqtif, pick, pluck, al-warda, the flower or rose. Pick the flower. Iqtif al-warda. Pick what? The flower. The flower is mansoob here. Pay attention. The flower is mansoob, because it's the maf'ul. And we'll get there in 1 second when we finish this next one. Read this one, Muharram.
خذ الكتاب.
خذ الكتاب. Now, this is mansoob. خذ is from akhadha. Khud is from akhadha, to take. So, khud al-kitab. But because this is a sukoon and this is a sukoon, this kasra is added here to make it smooth. So we don't say khud al-kitab. Because if we did that, we'd still have to add an alif or a fatha here, which isn't necessary. So we just make it smooth and we say khud al-kitab. So this kasra, even though this is really a sukoon, this kasra is added for reading purposes, and it has no bearing on Arabic grammar whatsoever. Right? Khudh al-kitaba. So he's telling you, take the book. Take the book. Khudh al-kitab. Allah says to Yahya, khudh al-kitab. Khudh al-kitab biquwa ya Yahya, or ya Yahya khudh al-kitab biquwa. I think it's the first one. Ya Yahya, khudh al-kitab biquwa. Take the book with strength. Meaning, stand up with this message, right? Stand strong with this message. Now, here in these first 4 sentences, the fa'il has been present in the sentence. Al-barqu, al-dhi'bu, al-thalju, al-bardu. Lama al-barqu, the lightning flashed. Awa al-dhi'bu, the wolf howled. Yasqutu al-thalju, the snow is falling. Yashtaddu al-bardu, the cold is becoming severe. Now, as we said, the fa'il is there in every one of them. Here, iqtif and khudh, the fa'il is not mentioned. The fa'il is called, or it's called mustatir or muqaddir, but it stands for anta. Anta. Iqtif anta. I can't talk to, for instance, Abu Tahir is not here. I can't say iqtif to Abu Tahir, because Abu Tahir is not here. I can't command someone who's not present. So I can only command someone who is present. So I tell them, uktub, iqra, waktub, right? Khudh, I'm talking to someone present. So here, it's anta, iqtif, anta. So anta is your fa'il in both of these sentences, even though it's not written, it's implied. Because you can't tell someone who's not present, and you can't tell yourself, pick the flower, to yourself. I mean, you can say it, but then it's as if you're talking to 2 different people. You might say, hey, you, Mustafa, what you doing? But then now I'm talking to myself as if I'm someone else. So, but in all actuality, without being crazy, you can't talk to yourself, and you can't command yourself like that, right? And so you're commanding someone who's present, which would be you, to a male or a female, to a group of people, or dual, like that. So اقتف الوردة, pluck, you, the flower. خذ الكتاب, hey you, take the book. And then what's taken is مفعول به. You follow that, everybody?
Yes.
So this is a jumlatul fi'liya. Every time a sentence begins with a verb, we're going to try to figure out, is it a past tense, a present tense, or a command? So these two are the past. These two are the present. And these two are commands. Right? So that's the first thing we're going to do. When we're trying to start figuring out how to do i'rab of a sentence, we want to say لمع فعل ماضي مبني على الفتح. Okay, all that stuff that you're going to get into, inshallah, as time goes. First thing we're going to see, okay, fi'l, we're going to see is it past, present, or command. Number one. Then we're going to find out what is the fa'il. Where is the file? Where is it? What is it? And the file is always going to be marfu'. Now, anta is marfu' here. اكتف anta. خذ anta. It's marfu', but it has but it's called mabni al-fath. It doesn't change, so it's going to be on a fatha. Anta is not going to become n2 because it's the file. No, it's marfu', and as we said, when we have these signs, and we'll go over that in a minute, I got a chart drawn for us, inshallah. So, okay, now we have that. We're going to figure out past, present, or command, and then we're going to figure out where is our file. Now, in these command verbs, it's a good chance that the file is not even mentioned. I could say, اكتف ya Abdullah al-Wardah. And then ya Abdullah became the file here. You know, خذ Ya Muharram al-Kitab. Muharram became the file because I mentioned who I wanted to take. But in actuality, it's anta because I'm talking to you when I command you to do something. Okay, so when you have a jumlatul fi'liya, you're going to have a fi'l and a file, always. And if I were to cut off this, that would still be a sentence. اقتف. It's only one word. خذ. It's only one word, but it's still a sentence because it's understood. اقتف أنت. خذ أنت. So my fi'l and my file is still there. Comprehend?
No.
Okay, the rule here. كل جملة. Every sentence. تتركب, it's made up of من فعل وفاعل. It's made up of a fi'l and a file, made up of a verb and the doer of the verb. تسمى جملة فعلية. It's called a jumla fi'liya. A sentence begins with a verb. That verb, and then it's going to have a fa'il. That's called a jumlatul fi'liya. That's your rule. There's exercises about it, but now we have the opposite of that. The opposite of that is the jumlatul ismiya. I'm going to read the first one, then Abdullah, and so on. Ad-daru wasiya. Ad-dar, it could be the house, right? Or the land, or whatever. Ad-dar wasiya is wide, or vast, or spacious. Wasiya. Ad-dar is feminine. That's why wasiya is feminine. Even though dar doesn't have a ta marbuta, it's one of those words that you have to learn that's feminine, even though it doesn't look like it. It's just one of them words you have to learn. Ad-daru wasiya. Read the next one, Abdullah.
Al-Jawu Mu'tadil.
Al-Jaw is the weather. Al-Jaw is the weather. Mu'tadil is like balanced, from adala, from being just and fair. So it means it's like neutral. It's not hot, it's not cold. It's nice outside. Al-Jaw mu'tadil, meaning it's not too hot, it's not too cold, it's just right. Mu'tadil. Right? You could have your shower water, mu'tadil, your bath water, mu'tadil. It could be not hot, not cold, just right, right? Muharram.
الغبار ثائر.
It's actually gubaru, but I think when they copied it, it didn't come out good. Just like you see some of these breaks in the wasi and stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
But it's a dhamma.
Okay.
How do we know it's a dhamma? Because there's nothing in front of it to change it, right? And the asl is a dhamma, right, on a noun. Go ahead.
الغبار ثائر.
Al-Ghubaru Tha'ir. Al-Ghubar is dust. Al-Ghubar is dust. Like, it could be dust in your house too, but it's mostly meaning like the dust outside, like, you know, in a western town, or if you live in the Middle East, which we're learning Arabic, right? We're talking about the dust in the air that comes around all the time, like sandstorms, right? Al-Ghubar Tha'ir. Tha'ir means raging or agitating, like that, right? It's getting wound up. Al-Ghubar is getting wound up. It's flying around. It's, you know, the Ghubar is moving around and flying around like a sandstorm, right? Tha'ir, from Thawara, right? Read number 4, Yasin.
الشارع مزدحم.
Ash-Shari', the street. And from there we have the word Sharia. Sharia means a way, a legislation that Allah sent down for us to follow, a way for us to follow, a path for us to follow, a street for us to follow, right? So you can see the connection. Ash-Shari' muzdaham, from zahama. Zayhamim. Muzdaham meaning it's busy, it's crowded. Ash-Shari' muzdaham. It's muzdahamun, meaning it's busy, it's crowded, right? Ash-Shari' muzdahamun. Ash-Shari'u, right? Number 5, Abdullah.
الطريق ضيقة.
ضيقة. ضيقة. ضيقة. ضيقة. At-tariq is another word like dar, which is feminine. At-tariq, and it can be feminine or masculine. You can use tariq or tariqa, and it can be feminine or masculine, no problem. At-tariq, dayiqa. At-tariq, the way, the path, like similar to shari', is dayiqa. Dayiqa from dawaqa, meaning, or from dayiqa. You could probably look it up both ways. Meaning to be tight, as opposed to wasi'. If someone has on pantalon that are wasi', pantalon, pants which are wide, then maybe he could pray in them, maybe. But if he has pantalon which are dayiq, they're tight, he can't pray in them, right? It's not permissible because he's going to show his private parts and all that because his pants are dayiq, like this, right? Read the last one for us, Muharram.
الفأرة مختبئة. Okay.
Al-Fa'ru is a mouse. Mukhtabi'a from Kha Ba Alif. Khaba'a, meaning to be hidden. Al-fa'ru mukhtabiya. The mouse is hidden, right? He's hiding from us, right? Okay, now let's look at these sentences. Because the meaning of them is good because it'll help us in our vocabulary, but the meaning is not what's important. Here we have sentences, all of them beginning with the noun. Ad-daru wasi'a. All of them have a mubtada and khabar about them. Any sentence that begins with a noun, that noun is called the mubtada, and the information about that noun is called the khabar. And any sentence that begins with a noun is called a jumlatul ismiyya. It begins with the ism, as opposed to the jumlatul fi'liyya, which begins with a fi'l. So ad-dar is the mubtada, wasi' is the khabar. All of them are marfu', as we see here. Marfu', 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 marfu'. Because the mubtada and the khabar are marfu', and this is a jumlatul ismiyya. So what we learned today about this right here, كل جملة تتركب من مبتدا وخبر تسمى جملة اسمية. Every sentence which is made up of a mubtada and a khabar, then this is called a jumlatul ismiyya. This is called a jumlatul ismiyya. Now we have a jumlatul fi'liyya, which is made up of what? Who can tell me? What is a jumlatul fi'liyya made up of?
It has the fi'l
Fi'l
and
and the fa'il. Now, the fa'il is going to be what? Always. What case is it going to be in?
it's going to be marfu'.
It's going to be marfu'. We're going to put it down here just, but even though that doesn't always mean that, but we're going to put it just because we mean marfu'. Ismiyya, jumlat ismiyya has what? Has what two parts?
مبتدا خبر.
Mubtada wa khabar. What case is the mubtada in?
No.
What was say marfu?
Marfu'. Yeah, the khabar is marfu', always. So now, I'm going to go over here. I've written down. We got a few minutes. Here's what we learned so far. The orange is something extra. The orange is something extra for us right now, right? We don't have enough time to really go over it. So, inshallah, no problem. Al-Kalam, Arabic speech. This is the breakdown of what we learned so far according to the book of Ajrumiyyah. So I'm combining both of them in this breakdown right here. Al-Kalam, speech in Arabic, or we would say Al-Jumla Al-Mufida. Right? Al-Jumla Al-Mufida, a beneficial sentence. As he said in the beginning of the book, that Al-Jumla Mufida and Kalam are the same thing. What is it? It's a love. Because in Arabic grammar, it's not really cared about what's written because they don't write the vowels. They don't write the vowels in books, really, right? They write them in this book because we're learning. But they start taking that stuff away because, so what we're talking about is a love. But that's Ajrumiyyah, so we can worry about that later. Al-Murakkab, meaning made up of two or more words. We say tufaha, surah, al-jaw, that doesn't make anything. But two or more words made up. If I say al-jaw and a tufaha, I said two words, but they're not beneficial. And so therefore it has to be something beneficial, like al-tufaha hulwatun or al-jawu mu'tadilun. Right? It has to be something which benefits. And bil-wada', meaning it has to be on purpose, and this is from, or it has to be in Arabic or on purpose. It has two meanings, right? It has to be in Arabic or it has to be done on purpose. So for instance, the grammarians are not going to break down the speech of a sleepwalker, right? Because that's not speech to them. They don't care what that is. because it doesn't count, right? And it has to be in Arabic language. So for instance, if I say al-Jow, cold today, that the Arabs don't care what I just said. If I say al-Jow, cold, al-Yom, the Arabs don't care what I say because the word cold is not an Arabic word. It has to be completely Arabic speech. For the Arabic grammarians to care about it, has to be completely Arabic. Now we learned that this kalam of the Arabs is made up of 3 parts: an ism, a fi'l, and a harf. Ja'a li ma'na. Harf ja'a li ma'na means a harf that comes with a meaning, as opposed to a ba or an alif or a ta, because those are called harf too. A ha, a kha, a ya, a wow. So harf ja'a li ma'na mean a harf that comes with a meaning like min, wa ila, wa an, wa ala, wa fi, wa rubba, right? Wal ba'u, wa kafu, wa lam. Because you can say Bismillah, kamithlihi shay'un, and li Muawiyah. Then these are words here, and they're not the ba of the alphabet. This is a ba of a word, not the ba of an alphabet, right? So this is the 3 types of words that we have: a ism, a fi'l, and a harf. And it doesn't go outside of that. We learned that our fi'l can be a madi, past tense, can be present tense, mudari, or it could be an amr, a command. And al-mustaqbal is included in the present tense, which is the future. The mudari and the mustaqbal in Arabic are the same. The present and the future have the same verb, right? And the command. So we have past, present, and command. And from the isms that we learned so far, we have the fa'il and the maf'ulun bih. We have the mubtada and we have the khabar. The fa'il, the mubtada, and the khabar are always going to be marfu'. And the maf'ulun bihi is always going to be mansoob. Now I put this and I say a dhamma, but it doesn't, marfu' it doesn't mean a dhamma, and mansoob doesn't mean a fatha. But that's our original sign for marfu', and our original sign for mansoob. That's the original form for it. But sometimes it takes something else due to other stuff, and we're going to learn all that as we go. Are there any questions? You got 3 parts of speech: ism, fi'l, harf. That's what we learned. And fi'l is past, present, or command. He did, he's doing, or do. That's it. And from the asma that we learned so far is the fa'il, the doer, the mubtada, and the khabar. The mubtada and the khabar, all those are marfu', and the maf'ulun bihi, the object, that's mansoob. We learned that there's a jumla fi'liya made up of a fa'il and a fi'l. It should be a fi'l and a fa'il. And we have an ismiya made up of a mubtada and a khabar. Clear?
Yeah.
We're a few minutes over our time. You guys got any questions, man? Just text them to me. It should be clear. Like I said, you don't have to memorize it all anyway. It's just try to start getting this. And as we read stuff inside the books, inside the du'as and the adhkar, we'll say, hey, is this a jumla fi'liya, jumla ismiya? Look at the mubtada, look at the khabar, look at the fa'il, look at the maf'ul, right? Is this a ism, is it a fi'l, is it a harf, which one is it? And we'll start bringing these things up inside of our sharh so you can start to see it. But starting next week, we'll start to see what changes things from a dhamma to a kasra to a fatha. What changes things if it's a dhamma in its origin, if the marfu' is, for instance, Muhammadun. Right? Muhammadun. What makes it Muhammadin? or Muhammadin. We're going to start to learn those things, right? We're going to start to learn what takes Ya'kulu. You know, he's eating Ya'kulu and makes it Ya'kula. What's going to change it to Ya'kula? Why is it going to be Ya'kula or Ya'kul with a sukoon? We're going to start to learn those things so we'll be able to make our speech properly even without the vowels. We're going to know that when I put lam before Ya'kulu, that lam is going to make it majzoom, so it's going to say lam Ya'kul. I'm going to know not to say lam Ya'kulu because lam makes the dhamma go to a sukoon. We're going to start to learn those things now, which is going to make sense with the Quran, with the hadith that we're reading, and in our speech it's going to correct it, bi'idhnillah. Don't have to be learned all at once. We're going to have plenty of examples to go through, inshallah.
Allah. Allah.
Jazakumullah khairan. I'll see you guys tomorrow with Mutun Talib al-Ilm. Jazakumullah khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.